So that's us recording now, mate. Can you introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Patrick Genoe, and I am an events executive up at a arena and conference and convention centre in the north of Scotland.
What's the name of that conference centre?
So it's called, well, the venue itself is P&G Live, that's the name of the arena, and then the conference and convention side is called the Baker Hughes Exhibition Hub. So it's a bit of a weird one. It's basically the one venue, but due to sponsorship and naming rights, and depending on which part of the venue you're in, is depending on how it's known. But I think for anybody who is looking for the venue or is looking at some of the events that we do, if you put in P&G Live, then you'll be able to find all the information that you need.
Nice one. Just want to ask you, how did you get started out in the music industry? Like, what was your first job?
So it's quite a good question, that, because I probably, if I'm honest, never really thought of myself as working in the music industry. I think now very much I work in the events industry, of which the music industry is part of, and the events industry is part of the music industry. They're both coexist together. But I suppose to kind of go all the way back, I started off. I moved to Glasgow for university when I was 18, and I think I just turned 19, and I met a guy who owned a promotions company when I was out one night, and we were talking about music and gigs, and my passion was always music. Like, I still absolutely love music. And I said to him, look, I would love to get more involved, and I'd love to kind of help you out a bit, I suppose. And he said, oh, that's good, because we always need people to come and like run shows. I was like, all right, okay. And I suppose back then I didn't really know how it worked, but he was like, yeah, so we'll have somebody on the front desk taking money and tickets, and then we have a rep. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. And I had no idea what a rep was. I was just like nodding my head going, yeah, I'm in. And then he kind of explained, and like the rep they'll run the gig and they'll liaise with the bands and the venue and the sound and all that. And I thought, yeah, okay, cool. I can do that. So I started working for him, kind of doing uni work during the day, working part-time in Sainsbury's in evenings and weekends, and then Friday nights to Saturday nights it was working for a promotions company. And back then it was called Get Loose Promotions, and then they latterly changed their name to PMCJ Events. So I suppose that also just ties into the thing of like the music industry is so much more than just you're a musician or you're a band or you're a producer. There's a massive industry, and I think now in the job I do now, I see that even more so than when I was a kid. So it was PMCJ Events as who it all started off. And like I said, I was doing the cash desk, I was repping shows, and then I was also doing a bit of their social media, a bit of stuff on the website, and then contacting bands initially for bookings and things.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we were told you'd be a rep, but you end up doing the cash and that at the same time for no more money as well, eh?
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. And it's funny, like, not to go too off piste, but looking back on those days, so I worked there at the same time as the guy who runs Tenement TV worked there, at the same time as the guy who is the promoter manager for DF Concerts. He worked there at the same time as the guy who now promotes Lewis Capaldi in Scotland. He worked there. And then there's another guy who works for another company, another big promotions company down south, a large independent. And we all worked together, and we were all like young, like 18, 19, 20, 21. And in my work now, I still, two of them, like I still speak to pretty regularly, and we just laugh and we're like, do you know, remember when we were, I think I was like 19 and you were 21, and we were doing the cash desk for 30 quid a show and stuff like that. And now we're out here and you've booked this artist and you sold 11,500 tickets, and I'm here running the event from the venue side and you're here as the promoter. So it's weird. It's been a crazy, crazy journey. And that, I think you get that, like you meet people at the start and folk drop in and drop out. And then there's a lot of people that they stay there as constant, and you almost grow as they grow.
Yeah.
But, you know, similar story happened. I was working a gig, Jerry Cinnamon's gig, and one of his backline techs is a mate of mine, and when I first met him, I used to drive the van of the band that he tour managed, and then 6 years later, whatever it is, I'm now working on a big, massive arena, 15,000 capacity arena, about to work in a team that's delivering the largest indoor show in Scottish music history. And he's a guitar tech for the musician. And I was like, mate, it feels like the last 10 years of my life have been building up to this moment. And he was just like, it feels like the exact same thing for me. So yeah, it's always a journey. Like it's always a journey, you know.
Well, funny enough, that's kind of leading on to the next question anyway. It's about what's your journey been to this point in your career, you know? You've been answering a wee bit about that, but you want to elaborate? I mean, I can totally get where you're coming from.
I mean, how long have we got? So, yeah, right. I'll start. Where will I start? I'll start at the beginning. So, I was a young 19-year-old, wet behind the ears, worked for a promotions company. I was doing this for ages, and just finished uni. At that point in time, it was like the credit crunch, which now seems like a distant memory. So I really struggled to get a job, and so I was working full time in Sainsbury's, doing this at the weekend. Then I was fortunate enough to get a job from my family business as the guy that made the teas for the guy that made the coffees, and then was still doing this on the weekends, like Friday, Saturday, still repping shows religiously all throughout Glasgow, doing a couple of shows in Edinburgh, meeting new people, and at that time, all those other folk who I worked with all then started to like work full time in the music and events industry. And I was like fine with that, but I was also a bit gutted that I wasn't doing it, because literally like all my mates were, and they're all doing really well for themselves. And I thought, oh God, I really want to get into that. So I was actually, with my girlfriend at the time, she was like, why don't you go and look at maybe going back to university and like studying events? Because I studied my Bachelor of Arts in business management, and I wanted to do events when I was like 18, but my dad told me that I would be a wedding planner if I'd done events at uni, which it seems like a typical dad from the west coast of Scotland mentality who grew up in the 70s. That's not the case. So I went back, and because I'd been doing this for so long, I was able to kind of speak to a couple of universities and say about my experience, and they offered me a place on a master's course. So I ended up going to the University of the West of Scotland and done a master's degree in international event management. I think that's maybe potentially the only events masters in Scotland. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of other like RGU, Cali, Napier, UWS, all do event degrees. Some do events and festivals, events, and like the Napier one's really good. All the colleges do events. So yeah, that was kind of it. And I mean, you don't need to go to university to work in the events industry or in music, like, but that's just my path. So I went back, done this master's, at the same time managed to bag a job as an events assistant at Bauer Media. So Bauer Media are a media company who own a lot of radio stations and magazines. the stations in Scotland anyway that they own are like Radio Clyde, Forth, North Sound, West FM, T. So they all the kind of like your more local but slightly larger stations. So I was working there. I was working in Clydebank in Glasgow, predominantly for Radio Clyde, just helping out. And I ended up working a lot on. There was a radio station that they were trying to launch called Clyde Rocks. So it was like an online platform. They didn't win the license for it, but I was working on that, and it was really good. And it was like testing out skills that I'd never had to use before. So doing a lot of the social media, but then also doing a lot of the mailers and the flyers for the other stations. And it was still involved with music and still involved with events, but on a totally different sphere than I'd ever really knew was a thing, I suppose. And so I was doing that and going to uni and doing my masters. Then I finished, and I through university had met a guy, Simon Foy, who's the events manager at Nordorf Robbins Scotland. So Nordorf Robbins, they have a principal fundraising event. Nordorf Robbins is obviously a music therapy charity, and they have a principal fundraising event, which is the Scottish Music Awards, and it's run in conjunction with SSE. It used to be, I think they're still a partner now, and it was always at the old fruit market. And then 2 years ago, they had it at the exhibition centre. They went back to the fruit market. And so I got chatting with him, and I was like, look, I love music. I love events and doing events. He was like, do you want to come and help us organise this? So I was helping him organise that and doing a bit of stuff at Clyde and repping shows and going to uni. And I felt like it was all just spinning different plates. But trying to spread myself out as much to get as much experience as possible. And then I graduate, or uni finished, I'll do my kind of dissertation, and I ended up working in fundraising, like one of those folk that stand out and say, do you want to give X amount of money every month to this charity? And it was a good charity. I was doing it for Marie Curie at the time, and they posted a thing up saying that they were looking for an events assistant to help their corporate events team. So I went in and I spoke to a woman, Catherine McLean was her name, and she was like, oh, it's brilliant, like you're at uni, you know about the charity anyway. So I started going in there 2 days a week. The Clyde thing had finished. It was only a fixed term contract, and was going in there, I was helping them organise like corporate fundraising events. And this was me then moving more into like the events industry, but still repping shows and still had a big passion about music. And when I was there, there was a job came up at the SEC, so Scottish Exhibition, or sorry, Scottish Event Campus as it is now, for like an assistant event manager post. And I got to the final 3 folk, and I thought, this is me, like I am destined for this job. Didn't get the job. I was properly gutted. But I thought, right, okay, well, like I was really close. So I then was looking about, and I got a couple of interviews, but one of them, weirdly enough, was for a charity, because this is the sector I had now fallen into, which I was kind of trying to desperately get myself out of. And the charity's called Disability Snow Sport UK, but they needed an event manager based up in Aviemore in the Highlands to work with them, and they delivered skiing and snowboard lessons to people with disabilities, every kind of disability all over the UK, but they also had a tie-in with the British para snow sport team. So that kind of like piqued my interest a bit, and I went up to Aviemore and worked for them. But it was only a maternity contract, so it was only for 9 months. And on the 8th month, like, I loved my time working up there, and it was a cool wee charity and a cool wee life if you ever get the chance to go up. It's an amazing wee place. But it was coming to the end of it, and nobody said anything about staying on. So I thought, right, I'm going to get out of a job like in a month. What do I do? And a couple of my friends who I went to uni with were working for a company called Conference Partners, which are a PCO. so professional congress organisers, and they had two jobs advertised. One was in their head office in Dublin, and one was in the office in Edinburgh. And I applied for both. I didn't get the job in Dublin, but I got the job in Edinburgh. So then, like, I was out the kind of charity events world, so I was quite happy. Not that it wasn't a good thing to be involved in, but I'd wanted to get back more into the live events, entertainment type stuff. And I really was keen on working in like a venue. So I worked with them through in Edinburgh, and they put on international conferences. So we done work at EICC in Edinburgh, SEC in Glasgow. We were over in Dublin. We were down in Brighton. We were in Manchester, like all over the place. And it was good. And when you're working there, you organise like speakers, delegates, all the entertainment. So we were booking entertainment acts, bands. We also look at like dinners, dances. It was like a proper introduction into a full events industry. And then I ended up getting somebody hit me up on LinkedIn for a job with another charity, and I was like, nah, I'm not interested. But they hit me up again and were like, no, we really want you. And I said, no. And then on the third time of asking, they were basically just like, how much do you want? What do you want your job role to be? Come and work for us. So I kind of, when they've been chasing that much and you basically told you to write your own ticket, I was like, right, okay, well, we'll go and do that. So I went there, and it was good. It was like, 35 hours a week, loads of holidays. It's a really good salary, but it was just killing me inside because when I was there, it meant I had more time to work on freelance music stuff. So I was back in repping shows every single Friday, Saturday, and around Glasgow and Edinburgh. I was taking holidays from there to go off on work further afield in Scotland to work with bands who were maybe on tours, so I could rep like 3 or 4 dates of the tour. I'm working with different promotions companies, and I was kind of just like, I almost felt like I'm getting there slowly but surely. The people that are now asking for me, or I'm getting recommended to people to go and work, which was really good. And I was back into music events, and I was like buzzing for it. But at the same time, I was still doing this day job that was kind of killing me a wee bit inside. And I was just having a look, and I noticed there was a job advertised for this new venue up in Aberdeen, and it was a 340 million pound venue. It was the newest venue in the whole of Europe. It was the largest venue, or largest arena in Scotland, third largest arena in Britain, and it's got the largest standing floor in the whole of the UK. So it was like I was excited, and I thought, right, okay. And I applied for the job, waited ages, had a telephone interview, then a face-to-face interview, and I remember walking into, it was like the old ECC, and it was the day that Rod Stewart was meant to be doing a big, massive 17,000 outdoor gig, and it got cancelled because of the weather. And they were taking the outdoor stage down, and all the crew was working. And I just like thought, yeah, this is a bit of me. This is cool. And I went in, and I got the job. I think I was probably seen as being a bit of an all rounder. Just with different experience in different areas. So yeah, I've been working there since last September, and my job there is it's an interesting one. So we're part of the events team, but when we've got an event on, we're the event manager. Unlike say the SEC, they have like a live events and entertainment team, and then they have more of a kind of a conference an exhibitions team. And sometimes they do a bit of crossover, but they each specialise in different areas. But we're not, they're an exceptionally busy campus. I mean, they've got 3 venues. So you've got the Armadillo, the SEC, and the Hydro. The Hydro's the third busiest venue in the whole of the world. We're not that. And we've got our exhibition conference centre and our arena, but in one building.
Yeah.
So our team look after everything. So it's really weird. You can literally one day be doing like stereophonics and the next again day be looking after a dinner dance.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but I like it. It's a lot of variety and it's good. And going up there, like I was always music, loved it. And I think probably I didn't realise just how much that industry lends itself out to other things. So if we look at the less of the other events that we do, so less of the conferences and exhibitions, but we look more of ourselves into the music side of things. So we have all of our technical team, like our riggers. Rigging's a big thing. Didn't realise how much of a thing rigging was. We'll have like a casual crew, so they'll come in and they'll help for load in, they'll help for the load out, and like local crew, tours can hire 50, 60 bodies in local crew, and it's weird because they're also the same local crew that we hire in to set up like exhibitions.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And then I suppose going to that crossover of music and events, like I think take Live Nation, so they're the world's, them and AEG are the world's largest music promoters. But they also recently have been promoting monster trucks, Hot Wheels monster trucks, and Cirque du Soleil, and they promote wrestling as well. So it's not just music; it's like everything. So I think it's probably important for people to realise that that industry is massive, and it's not just about being in a band or being a DJ or being a producer. Like there's so much more, and a lot of these people that maybe work like backline techs or whoever maybe started off in bands, and then they went into the kind of tech side, and then sometimes they'll then go from being a tech to being like a production manager or a stage manager, and then they can go into like, a tour manager, or they might go into starting to rep and like repping at big arena shows. And so there's so many different avenues, and just because you start off in one, it doesn't mean that you're not going to do what I done, which was like a big circle round and then kind of come back to it. So it's funny. I'll now sit and I'll talk to like the reps from PCL or DF or AG or Live Nation, and like that's what I used to do years ago, but never ever at an arena level, like a lot lower down. But it's funny because just like, well, that was that trajectory, but I went round and different and done it a different way. So yeah, it's probably, it's hard like to comprehend just how many different elements there are to like a big thing like that, because it's a music and events industry, so DF concerts are called DF concerts and events. It's not just one or the other. That's why PMCJ became PMCJ events, even at a low level,
Yeah, no, 100%. It's interesting because I think that's probably something that kind of gets overlooked quite a bit because bread and butter's music, but actually it's not just that. It is events elsewhere and different kinds of events that you maybe don't think of.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just looking at the questions. You've actually answered probably the next one, which was, do you need to go a higher education, a progress in this situation? But you've kind of said it helped you, but obviously you don't need to, but it does help.
I think I've got I've got a train of thought on that. So they always talk about, so I'm going to talk about the events industry and have music events as part of that greater industry. Mm-hmm. So they always talk about professionalisation of the industry.
Yeah.
And to be honest, working in events, when you're starting to do like big music shows, like at an arena level, everybody's pretty professional. Do you know what I mean? You need to be, because there's just so much riding on it, so much money, so much health and safety. Like some of the, you basically walk into an empty room and every light that you see in the sky, everything is all built up on that day. So it's a construction site, it's a massive health and safety thing. But when you start to work lower down, and especially at the grassroots level, the music stuff's maybe a bit more fly by night at times. So that's what they always talk about, is professionalisation of the industry. And I think one way in which people kind of see that as, oh well, if I go to university and I get a degree, then that's my way in. But for me, like I would say on and off in some capacity worked in events for about 11 years, maybe 12 years before I got my job. And in that time, I got 2 degrees.
Yeah.
But I think that you can work hard and get a lot of experience and get a job in the industry without having a degree. It's probably now more commonplace to
Yeah.
have one. But yeah, I also think that you can see people who have maybe done events at uni and then got an event assistant job somewhere or a coordinator job and then worked up to whatever. And they maybe only worked for like 3 years or 4 years. And I think that you can tell the difference between people like that and people who have done it almost like an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And they
I
kind of
suppose
like,
that's the thing. There's certain life skills that you learn at grassroots that will never occur in a
yeah,
university book that will be
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
beneficial to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wouldn't say either is more beneficial
Yeah.
or the other. I think
I think it's a
you
balance,
do
eh?
get, yeah, I mean, you do get a lot of opportunities at university. Like, I think no matter what you do, it's about working as much as you can and volunteering as much as you can and helping out as much as you can. And universities are a great avenue for that. So
Yeah.
if we're needing extra like hosts to come in and volunteer stuff, like we're going to RGU and asking their events management students. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you do have that is definitely a positive. It's not the be all and end all. If you're 17 and you've not got into do events management at uni that you wanted to, like, don't let that put you down or don't let it put you off.
Yeah.
It means that you might have to go around it a different way, or So I don't think you need to. It's beneficial, definitely beneficial,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't say that you need to.
Next question is I kind of touched on it a wee bit, but it's I think you could probably go into a bit of depth on it. Is what sacrifices have you made along the way to get to the point you're at now?
I am.
I mean, even gone back to his talking about the work you were doing, the fact that you were working in Sainsbury's at the same time as got university, at the same time as doing the offence with Get Loose, we'll call it at this point, because it hadn't developed into PMCG yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and there was loads on top of that as well as having a life. But what sacrifices would you say there was that was massive for you, but you made the point?
Sleep is probably the first one. No, I think to be totally honest, like, I've definitely sacrificed friendships. I've 100% sacrificed relationship.
Yeah.
Moved to different cities, different social circles, all through work and to try and kind of get ahead. You're right, like, well, like,
Yep.
there was times where I would be tour managing bands and like picking a van up in Glasgow, driving 40 minutes to pick the band up, then driving 4 hours to the gig. Then
Don't know who you could be speaking about there.
because it was like toilet tour stuff and there was no there was income generation was at a premium. Like, there was no money to stay over anywhere, so we just had to drive back. And before you know it, you've like driven for 12 hours. Definitely don't think that's legal. And then worked like repping the gig for like, worked TM with the band for like 3 or 4 hours during the gig and the setup. And then you've been working beforehand because you've been messaging the promoter, and speaking to the engineers and the production crew for like what the band needs and all that kind of stuff for like, not a lot of money, £2 an hour or something like that.
You're lucky you got that some of the gigs.
And I think, to be honest though, that's the thing. Like, you need to really, really want it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh yeah, no, I want it. But you see, like having nothing and going and doing that mad stuff and working. There was one time where when I just finished uni before getting my first full-time job, like, I was doing like 4 different jobs all at once, and I didn't have a single day off in 3 months. I
Yeah,
ended up in hospital. Like, but you have to want it, and it's it's very much a way of life, I think. And you can tell, like, people that see it as a job, they end up maybe doing like a certain thing, and then you see the other folk that you see it as like a way of life, and they end up going like doing a different path, I suppose, more
yeah,
events. But yeah, no, music's like that as well, and it's the exact same. If you're a musician or an artist and you want the world to hear your music, like, you need to want it, and you need to be hungry for it, because it's definitely not going to come to you. You have
yeah.
to go to it, you know.
I think you look at it, it's like 2% of the people that apply to be, well, or want to try to be in the industry, make it to be in the industry, and whatever level that might be. It's like
Yeah,
everybody, especially teenagers, pick up a guitar, or the majority of people will, but the majority of people also drop that guitar at some point. And I think
yeah,
what we're trying to show with this interview and the other interviews that we'll do is actually there's careers out there. If you really want to work in music, then it's up to you. It's no anybody else has got to give you a hand. That you need to focus and
yeah,
actually go for it, but also understand that even if your path might be, say it was, for instance, you wanted to work in the fence, you might have to waver off that direction a bit to come back in, and that's not a bad thing, especially if you're getting paid to waver still and go to come
mhm,
back in, because the experience you got doing all the other stuff has probably got you to this point.
yeah, yeah. No, no, oh no, I absolutely. I wouldn't be working where I'm working if I hadn't had that journey
Yeah,
beforehand. And there was
yeah,
definitely dark times in that journey where I was going, "What the hell have I done? What have I done? What am I doing to myself? This is ridiculous." And it's interesting as well. You say that 2% making it into the industry. That's 2% making it in,
yeah.
but that 2% aren't all going to be successful either.
Nope,
Like,
nope.
you know,
That's
so
just breaking
it's
it in, eh? That's breaking in the door.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's mental stuff.
I think that's the thing with musicians. I think a lot of the time people think, especially when they get signed to a label, they think they've made it a lot of the time, and that's where they fail because they think they've done what they need to do, rather
Yeah,
than thinking that's point one, rather than that's not my end goal, but it's point one
yeah.
of where I want to be,
I,
and
s-
that's a challenge.
I'm saying it like it's a mental industry. Mentality is a big thing, though.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I've sacrificed my own mental health, but there's definitely times where you do kind of sacrifice, like, your your
But you're
body and your
pushing
mental.
yourself. You're pushing yourself to exhaustion. The
Uh-huh.
fact that you've even
Yeah,
mentioned you were in hospital is just, it's that extra thing. I think it's that thing of saying to the young folk are watching this, is like, don't push yourself to the point you got to hospital, but recognise when you need a bit, if you're burning out, you may need to take that bit of a step back just for that wee bit and have a bit of me time just to go forward. And that might
yeah,
just be even a night to yourself away for your work and no worrying about work for a bit.
yeah,
Because the worst thing will happen is you burn out and you hate what you're doing then.
yeah. And I'm very fortunate that I really love my job, and
Yeah,
it's been a long time to be able to say that, because I've always been, the end goal was always kind of doing what I'm doing.
yeah,
Now
yeah.
my end goal's changed. I want to do something different, but in the same vein. But yeah, then I got there. I was like, that's good. It's like level 1 achieved. You know.
I've only got a couple more questions. One major question, then I'm going to ask you something else. But the next question was just, what's your biggest achievement in the jobs that you've done? What is the one thing that stands out as a pinnacle for your career so far?
I think. Oh, that's a good question. That there's lots of little highlights, I suppose. Um, yeah, I suppose taking TM in a band to like Isle of Wight festival for the first time. That was a highlight for me. Similarly, tour managing a band over to South by Southwest in America for the first
Yeah,
time. That was a big, big one, because I'd wanted to go there since I was 13 years old. And I'd always wanted to go there and work, and I was lucky in 2018 I got a chance to go over with
yeah.
Tijuana Wild Wolves. that was a massive thing. Raising like £200,000 at a charity event in one night was also a massive thing.
Yep.
But right now, I was event manager that delivered the first ever live music at the P&G Live Arena. So I event managed Alice Cooper, and that to me was like a big achievement, because it
Yeah.
was my first arena show, and it was the first live music in the arena. We'd had one show before that, which was Russell Howard. It was comedy I was working on, but I wasn't event manager for it. I was just part of the team working on it.
Yeah.
So that was probably it. And also being part of the team that worked on Jerry Cinnamon's record breaking show. 15,000 capacity, largest indoor arena show in Scottish music history. Being there on that night, it was 15,000 standing. It was crazy. That was an achievement. As my colleague, she was the event manager for it, but myself and the rest of the team were all working. So yeah, lots of just wee things that stick out that you go, aye.
I think that comes back to what you were saying earlier on as well about we all grew up together, like the Jerry thing. It's like that's a huge achievement, not just because the stature, the selling out the venue, the biggest in Scottish history at the time, but the fact it was Jerry doing it. I can imagine that would have been huge for you anyway, because we know Jerry. You know what I mean? This is Jerry for the Cinnamons. You know what I mean? And that's how long ago we go back. So for you personally, that would have been huge. Like, it's like, oh, that's Jerry. He's went and done it. My mate's the tech for him. Raymond Mead's playing bass. You know what I mean?
I know. It's weird that, because so I was speaking to Stevie when we coming up, and I was like, how the show's been. He's like, it's been great. We've been smashing this left, right, and centre, and blah blah blah. I thought that's mad, and I was just like, remember going to go and see you in the Priory.
Yeah.
But then similarly, I was speaking to Paul, who was up working for Lewis Capaldi, chatting away to him, and I remember him from years and years back as well, years ago.
Yeah.
It was weird. But then similarly, you remember going to see Lewis Capaldi at Tenement Trail 3 years ago when he was playing on 2 o'clock in the afternoon on acoustic stage. So just everybody has this journey, and yeah, it's crazy.
It's always, the trail's really good for that, where it kind of just puts you in light. Like, even looking back at the trail posters, you're like, oh, there's such and such. Oh, there's such and such. They've broke through now. That kind of thing.
Yeah. They broke through, or they're not a band anymore, but they formed this band, and now this band are massive. Or it's weird. And I think Scotland, historically, Scotland's always it's always punched above its weight when it comes to music.
Yeah.
And we've always produced some really strong acts, but right now there seems to be that resurgence again in music in Scotland, especially guitar music around Glasgow. Even today there was about 5 or 6 singles all released that all came out of Seven West Studios, which is they're making a movement. That's something's being recorded there, because it all sounds like it's been recorded there. It's got this signature sound, which I think is brilliant. It's great. So yeah, Scotland's doing well, and then even in the events industry as a whole, in terms of in terms of Europe, the UK is probably the leader of events professionals in Europe.
Yeah,
Scotland is very, very strong in that front. And in percentage-wise of our universities and colleges that deliver events degrees, there must be 4,000 or 5,000 events graduates every year coming out of Scotland. So yeah, it's good, and everybody seems to kind of look out for each other as well, and everybody seems to kind of know each other, and so it's there's almost like a family atmosphere, and again, that if something's a wee bit shitty, or you're having a hard time, for a fact you'll know somebody else who's been there and done it, or somebody who's going through the same thing with you, but it might be in a different event, or it might be a different band, or whatever. So it's really it's good. It's a very, very family atmosphere.
I definitely think there's a support network there with people you've networked with. It's like as you say, is like the people you network with tend to end up being mates in the long term, especially because we all kind of work within or are involved within the same sector, and it's everybody's in the same boat. There's no time for anything else sometimes, and like
Yeah.
take McLean for instance. Stevie's on tour all the time, but when he comes back, that's his time, and I suppose loads of are like that, you know what I mean? Like you'll be
Yeah.
like that, especially when you've been in Aberdeen. So
I
it's
mean,
like,
yeah. Well, this obviously coronavirus lockdown, so run out of things to do. I found myself back on Tinder, giving it the old swipey swipe and folk like that. So what saying what you do, what do you like to do in your spare time? And I'm just like, just music and events. That is my spare time. So
yeah,
when I'm not at work, that's still what I'm doing, because it's just like that's your life. Like
yeah,
that's it. Like bands running shows like for the venue, not there. Maybe doing like some freelance stuff. Like I've went and I've done like I've got 2 shows in Tunnels. I was
yeah,
been up there. So I went from the biggest arena in Scotland to driving 10 minutes down the road and repping a show at like a 200 capacity toilet
yeah,
tour in a wee dive bar venue. And the promoters were like, "Oh, thanks so much. Like you helped us out. We were really struggling to get a rep up there." And I'm just like, "No, this was my bread and butter for 10
aye,
years. I absolutely love it."
yeah.
Like, and I would happily go and do wee shows like that as well as do big shows, because it's it's a, I don't know, it's like it's just a different experience. It's
I mean,
class. Like,
there's definitely a charm to it that you'll no get at the big venues because it is
no,
the nitty gritty of the industry, but it's
yeah,
great.
because at the at the big shows you're like, you're sitting in an event control room and you've got your radio and you're with all your like security, and then there's police there, maybe there's not, there's maybe paramedics there, not first aid. You're looking at like 3 screens with 65 different CCTV cameras, and people are radioing you for this, that, and the next thing, and then the production's radioing you for stuff and all this, and that's good, it's great. And then you're looking at the egress and the ingress and filling out reports. But when it comes down to like a scuzzy little venue, when there's like 60 folk who are all going mental for their favourite band, there's just as much enjoyment out of
Yeah,
that as and just as much an achievement out of that as there is doing a big thing. And like no matter what show it is, if it's live music, I can never sleep afterwards because I'm
yeah,
always just totally buzzing. My body's knackered, but my mind is just
the
like loving
race.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Last question, mate. Is just have you got any advice to give the young people about starting it?
I would say you need to try and get yourself involved with as many different things. So if there's an opportunity to go and volunteer at something, go and do it, and then volunteer at it the next again year, and then on the third year try and do something else, try and manage the volunteers at it, or try and speak to as many people as possible and try and get involved in as many things. Because that's a lot of it is word of mouth, and a lot of it is like knowing about a wee break and then being able to kind of get yourself in there. Um, so those are important things. But then when you're actually at any event, whether it's a music event or whether it's um, an awards ceremony, like I worked at BBC Sports Personality of the Year this year as well, is just know that there's people there who have probably more experience than you've been alive. So take their knowledge, be like a sponge. Everything that they say, soak it up, because they've been there, they've done it, and they've got the t-shirt. And that's how you really learn. Like from a lot of people's experiences, you get a lot from your own experience. But if you know how somebody else has done it, or if they tell you, that worked for that reason, that didn't work for that reason, take it in, because it's like that's absolutely invaluable. You'll never learn that in a textbook. You'll never learn that in a lecture, really. So yeah, just be like a sponge, take it in and be enthusiastic, you know.
Yeah. That's it, mate. Thank you very much. I'm just got to stop this recording now.